Alright, so what's up YouTube? It's the Night Saint here, back with another video. Without further ado, this is the Katha Upanishad part 2. Like I said, I just read the part 1 the other day. It was about a conversation between Yama and Nachiketa, and he was just asking for the secret of life, the secret of life and death, or death specifically. And I'm not gonna lie, I like that story, and I'm gonna keep rereading because it drops a lot of wisdom in it. But let me just get to the point and just really read part 2 of it. Part 2. The self-existent Lord pierced the senses to turn outward. Thus we look into the world without and see not the self within us. As sage withdrew his senses from the world of change and seeking immortality. Look within and beheld the deathless self. The immature run after sense pleasures and fall into a widespread net of death. But the wise, knowing the self is deathless, seek not the changeless in the world of the change. Through that which one enjoys the form, taste, and smell, sound, touch, and sexual union is the self. Can there be anything known to that? Who is the one in all? No one knows all. Through which one enjoys the waking and sleeping states is the self. To know that as consciousness is to go beyond sorrow. To those who know the self as an enjoyer of the honey from the flowers of the senses, every present within, ruler of time, go beyond fear, for this self is supreme. The God of creation, Brahma, born of the Godhead through meditation, before the waters of life were created, who stands in the heart of every creature, is the self indeed, for the self is supreme. The goddess of energy, Adati, born of the Godhead through vitality, mother of all the cosmic forces, who stands in the heart of every creature, is the self indeed, for the self is supreme. The god of fire, Agni, hidden between two fire sticks like a child well protected. In the mother's womb, whom we adore every day, is the depth of meditation. Is the self indeed, for the self is supreme. That which is the source of the sun and every other power in the cosmos, beyond which there is nothing, neither going nor coming, is the self indeed, for the self is supreme. What is here, also there. What is there, also here. Who sees multiplicity, but not the indivisible self, must wander on and on from death to death. Only the one point in mind attains this state of unity. There is no one but the self, who sees multiplicity, but not the indivisible self. Let's reread the same thing. I'm tripping. Oh no, I just saying they're repeating the same thing. But not the one divisible self. Must wander on and on to death. That dumb-sized being enshrined in the heart, ruler of time, past and future, to see whom is going beyond all the fear, is the self indeed, for the self is supreme. That I guess this must be a song or something. No, you stop playing. That thumb-sized being, a flame without smoke, ruler of time, past and present and future, the same on this day, on tomorrow, the self indeed, for the is the self indeed, for the self is supreme. As the rain on the mountain peaks run off slopes on all sides, so those who see only the seemly multiplicity of life run after things on every side. As pure water poured into pure water becomes the very same, so does the self of the illumined man or woman, Nachiketa, very rarely become one with the Godhead. So I guess this is him just telling them that he basically, he's like giving them like a rites of passage to, it's like he woken them into the self. I guess that's what he is, since he finally budged and he let him in. There is a city with 11 gates, of which the ruler is unborn self, whose lights forever shines. They go beyond sorrow who meditate on the self, are free from the cycle of birth and death. For this self is supreme. The self is the sun shining in the sky, the wind blowing in space. He is the fire at the altar, and in the home the guest. He dwells in human beings and gods in truth. In the vast firmament, he is the fish born in water, that the plant growing in the earth, the river flowing down from the mountain, for this the self is supreme. The adorable one who is seated in the heart rules the breath of life. Unto him all the senses pay their homage. When the dweller in the body breaks out, and freedom from the bonds of flesh, what remains? For this the self is supreme. We live not by the breath that flows in and flows out, but by him who causes the breath to flow in and to flow out. Now, Nachiketa, I will tell you of this unseen, eternal Brahman, what befalls itself after death. Of those unaware of the self, some are born as embodied creatures with other remains in the lower stages of evolution, as determined by their own need for growth, that which awake even in our sleep, giving us forms and dreams of objects of sensing, sense craving, that indeed is pure light. Brahman, the immortal, who contains all cosmos, beyond whom no one can go, for the self is supreme. As the fire assumes different shapes when it consumes objects different in shape, so does the one self that takes shape of every creature on whom he is present. As the same air assumes different shapes when it enters objects different in shape, so does the one self that takes the shape of every creature on whom he is present. As the sun, who is the eye of the world, cannot be tainted by the defects in our eyes or by the objects it looks on, so the one self dwelling in all cannot be tainted by the evils of the world, for this self transcends all. The ruler supreme, inner self of all, multiplies his oneness into many. Eternal joy is theirs in who sees the self in their own hearts. To none else does it come. Changeless amidst the things that passes away, pure consciousness is in all who are conscious. The one answers the prayers of many. Eternal peace is theirs who sees the self in their hearts. To none else does it come. Nachiketa, how can I know the blissful self, supreme, irresistible, inexpressibly, realized by the wise? Is he the light, or does he reflect the light? Yama, there shines not the sun, neither the moon nor star, nor flash of lightning, nor fire lit on earth. The self is the light reflected by all. He is shining. Everything shines after him. The tree of eternity roots above, its branches on earth below. Its pure root is Brahman, the immortal. From all the worlds draw their life, in whom none can transcend, for the self is supreme. The cosmos come forth from the Brahman and move in them. With its power it reverberates like thunder crashing in the sky. Those who realize him pass beyond the sway of death. And fear of him fire burns, and fear of him the sun shines, the cloud rains, the wind blows, and fear of him death stalks about to kill. If one fails to realize Brahman in this life before the physical sheath is shed, he must again put on a body in the world of the embodied creatures. Brahman can be seen in the mirror and the pure heart in the world of the ancestors, as in a dream, the Gandharva world, as the reflections in trembling waters, as clear as the light in the realm of Brahma. No one that senses to be separate from the self, the sense experience to be fleeting, the wise grieve no more. Above the senses is the mind, above the mind is the intellect, above that is the ego, above the ego is the unmanifested cause, and beyond is Brahman, omnipresent, attributeless. Realizing him is one release from the cycle of birth and death. He is formless, he can never be with two eyes. He reveals himself in the heart of made pure through meditation and sense restraint. Realizing him, one is released from the cycle of birth and death. When the five senses are still, when the mind is still, when the intellect is still, that is called the highest state by the wise. They say yoga is the complete stillness in which one enters the unitive state, never to become separate again. If one is established in this state, the sense of unity will come and go. The unitive states cannot be attained through the worlds of the thoughts or through the eye. How can it be attained except through one who was established in the state of oneself? There are two selves, the separate ego and the indivisible Atman. When one rises above I, me and mine, the Atman is revealed as the one real self. When all desire that surge in the heart are renounced, the mortal becomes immortal. When all the knots that strangle the heart are loosened, the mortal becomes immortal. This sums up the teaching of the scriptures. From the heart, they radiate 101 vital tracks. To the crown of the head, this way leads to immortality, the others to death. The Lord of love, not larger than the thumb, is ever enshrined in all hearts. Draw him clear out of the physical sheath. As one draws the stalk from the munja grass, know thyself to be pure and immortal. No life have to be pure and immortal. The narrator. Not the kid that learned from the king of death that the whole discipline of meditation, freeing himself from all separatingness, he wanted immortality in Brahman. So blessed is everyone who knows the self. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I'm not gonna lie, I like that Upanishad. And I'm not gonna lie, I can see why people think that's like their favorite one. That's like the more popular one amongst a lot of people. These are the scriptures, huh? Yeah. So yeah, this is I just finished the Katha Upanishad. And the thing about it, I love about spiritual wisdom, it's so deep and it's so many layers to it that you will only really understand it by meditating on like these words. And the thing about it is, to my own understanding, I got my own, intuitive understanding on the self. So when I'm reading this, I'm glad that it still opened me up to different ways, and I'm thinking about the self, and So yeah, my bad. I'm sitting there. My brain kind of like the gears is turning right now. So I'm more than likely gonna talk about it in my next video, talking about the Katha Upanishad. I think I'm gonna do a review on every Upanishad and the way that I perceived it. So yeah, so thank y'all for listening in on the Katha Upanishad. The next one that's coming up is the Brihadara Nayaka. I don't know, I pronounced that. I'm butchering the hell out of it. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. As a caterpillar having to come to an end of one blade of grass draws itself together and reaches out for the next one, so the self having to come to an end of one life and dispel it of all ignorance, gather in its faculties and reaches out from the old body to a new one. That's the next chapter. So yeah, thank y'all for listening in. I appreciate y'all and hope y'all have a good rest of y'all day.